Hey everybody, welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm Dr. Angel Storm. Thanks so much for joining. Today I'm telling you about the difference between regular anger and narcissistic rage. So if you are familiar with narcissists at all, they have a very fragile ego, and so if you try to bring anything up that might correct them, that might point out a flaw or a bad way of thinking to them, any kind of thing that really challenges them at all is going to cause what they call a narcissistic injury, meaning there's a hole essentially being poked in the narcissist facade that they've worked really hard to build, to create, to not let people in there at all, and they're not going to like that. So how the narcissist reacts to that injury, which they perceive as somebody attacking the thing that they care the very most about, which actually isn't themselves, like their true selves. It's the facade that they've created. It's this image that they've constructed. When they perceive that to be under attack, they'll react really aggressively, and this is what's called narcissistic rage. So the difference between the two is that healthy people, when something is done that slights them, that offends them, that hurts them, that causes them to feel sad or less than, most people will respond by discovering what is happening there. Either having a conversation about it or just setting a boundary and being firm in that boundary and removing themselves from that situation, and they're just going to keep it moving, right? Like if they can't communicate to the other person about what the issue is, the other person will just keep going. A narcissist won't do that. A narcissist will react with extreme anger. This type of rage, you can actually tell that there is something deep happening within them, that it is not a normal response to the slight that they feel, and that's actually one of the ways that you can tell that this is narcissistic rage as opposed to regular anger. The narcissist will overreact to whatever was done. It could be something super small, very little, that was done that just went against what they wanted to have happen, or it seems to have poked a hole in that facade that I was talking to you about, even a slight bit, a little bit. Their reaction to that will be so extreme. This can also be categorized by the fact that they will often attack the other person. So we're talking about extreme name calling, tearing apart any kind of flaw or weakness in that other person that they can find, right? So it doesn't matter how small, they will constantly bring up that flaw, that small thing about you that isn't perfect, it could even be a real problem. It could be something that you want to have fixed. But the narcissist will bring it up because they know that that will hurt you, and they're doing it specifically to cause extreme damage to the other person so that that person is intimidated and won't do that narcissistic injury again, that they'll know not to offend or challenge the narcissist in any way, because that's going to be the response that they get. One of the things to note that's really important about narcissistic rage too is that it doesn't necessarily come out all at once. Again, this is going to be specific to the type of narcissist that you're dealing with. Sometimes what happens is that there's like a narcissistic injury, a slight paper cut, if you will, and then there's another little paper cut, and then another little paper cut, and then when you get to the next paper cut, all that happens is like all this stuff starts coming out. And so this is another way actually that narcissists will use to control people. So they'll keep you guessing. They're going to continue to see like, okay, he took that criticism, okay, there was no reaction, or she handled that complaint that I had pretty well, like she didn't really respond to it. You'll see that you'll get the sense of it's okay to voice my opinion, it's okay to voice my concern or to bring up issues that I'm having without any type of reaction. But if that's the case, keep track of how many times it seems to be that you're bringing up issues before you have this narcissistic rage response. Narcissists, they always work on schedules. They work in cycles. And each narcissist is on their own schedule, which I've talked about that kind of cycle a lot, like paying attention to the love bombing phase and how long it lasts, followed by the discard phase and how long that lasts, and then the devaluation phase before that, and then how long they won't contact you before they start the love bombing phase again. It's always on a cycle, and it's really important that you know your narcissist and you can prepare yourself for those, for the next thing that's coming, wherever that cycle is leading you. So the same thing is true for narcissistic rage. Not all narcissists will respond and react straight away to something that offends them. Some of them are fine letting a couple of them build up because they know that this is causing more damage through the trauma bond, and they're having more control. They're having a more long-term effect, and that can be more important to them than just immediately shutting you down and attacking whatever you're saying to them that's offensive. So you can really start to tell if you're dealing with regular anger or you're dealing with narcissistic rage by watching the scenario that causes the outburst. Some people have chemical imbalances, so this can also cause an unreasonable reaction to things. That can happen through many different ways. It could be a mental health issue. It could be from a head injury. There's lots of ways that the chemical makeup in our bodies gets upset, and it isn't even, it isn't equal, it isn't what we were designed to have. So paying attention to the scenario around when you're discovering if this is narcissistic rage or regular anger, or potentially a third option like one of these scenarios that I was just describing, is going to help you narrow down what's actually happening. So for example, pay attention to things like when the other person doesn't get their way. That's a good sign that this is a narcissist and this is how they're going to react when they don't get their way. As I said before, when they're criticized, when they're critiqued in some way, again, poking a hole in that facade, when they aren't the center of attention, all of those things like the narcissist has to have. And so if they don't have that, pay attention to the surrounding events that caused the rage or outburst to happen, and that's going to help you narrow down and really discover if you're dealing with narcissistic rage or just regular anger, somebody who is emotionally immature, somebody who doesn't have control over their own self, or potentially somebody who has this chemical imbalance like I was describing before that isn't narcissism, but there is a chemical imbalance that's affecting the way that they're able to respond to stressful situations and events. So I hope that this video has helped you identify the difference between narcissistic rage and anger, normal anger, and or if there's a third potential scenario happening with the person that you're dealing with. I think it's also important to note that narcissistic rage will always happen for the purpose of manipulation. So the narcissist is seeking specifically to use rage, to use anger, to use fear and intimidation and all the other kind of thing that come along with that. Name callings that can lead to shame and guilt, all of those emotions to manipulate and control you. So if those things seem to be the goal of what the outburst is sparking, it's a good indication that is narcissistic rage and not normal anger. A person who's normally angry wants to express themselves that they're angry, but they're not seeking to attack the other person. They want to express how they feel. I'm angry about this situation that was done to me, but they're not trying to tear somebody else down, right? They're not cutting off the heads of everybody else around them so that they feel tall. So that concludes this video, you guys. Thanks so much for watching, and if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to my channel below, turn on the little bell so that you're notified whenever I upload a new video to this channel.